All right, good evening and welcome to this candidate forum hosted by the Johnson County Post, featuring candidates vying for 2 contested seats on the Olathe City Council. We will give the candidates a chance to introduce themselves shortly, but first, my name is Kyle Palmer. I'm the editor of the Post, and I will moderate this forum. This is night 12 of 12 for our local candidate forum, so this is it. You guys are the last ones. We're going out to a bar after this if you want to come. So we really do appreciate you coming here tonight on a Wednesday evening, tuning in online as well. We do consider events like this our bread and butter. We've done them nearly every year since our founding, nearly 15 years ago. We started off as the Prairie Village Post, expanded to the Shawnee Mission Post, and just at the start of last year, we became the Johnson County Post, and now are covering the city of Olathe full-time with our Olathe reporter, Kate Mays, right here in front of us. So we are really excited to be here. This is actually the first municipal forum we've ever done in Olathe, so we really do appreciate it and hope we get to do many, many more. If you are a subscriber to the Post, we do thank you. It does allow us to do events like this, 12 of them over the course of an election season. If you're not a subscriber or you're just now hearing about us, either in the room or online, check us out at johnsoncountypost.com. You can get a 1-month, $1 trial offer. You can cancel anytime after that, but of course we do think that we are worth the full price. A big thanks to K-State Olathe for allowing us the space tonight to do this forum. They were wonderful to work with, and so we thank them for their use of the space at their campus here in Olathe. We are also live streaming this event. That's what the cameras are for. So this will be on our Facebook page as well as our YouTube channel between now and Election Day in case you need to leave, or if you're on the stream, need to step off, you can come back and watch this forum in its entirety or the parts that matter most to you at any point between now and November 4th. I also want to thank the candidates who are here tonight, all 4 in these 2 contested races. Of course, running for office creates a very busy season in your life, so we do appreciate the fact that you've taken about an hour of your time on a Wednesday evening to share your platforms, priorities, and views with the readers and voters of Olathe so that they can see and hear their choices. So let's briefly lay out the format for this event. They're going to get opening statements. They're going to get 60 seconds each. We'll go through all 4. And then I have some prepared questions here. They're all going to get the same questions, the same time to respond. If I see the opportunity or need for a rebuttal within a certain race, I might allow the other candidate to speak if the one candidate mentions them by name or it's clear that they're talking about them or one of their decisions or whatever. So might allow some rebuttals. Don't want to get into extended back and forth, but we'll allow that chance if needed. Again, same questions, same amount of time to respond. If you have questions, you might have noticed an index card on the desk in front of you. You can write down a burning issue that you have that you want to see asked, and you can pass those to Leah Wonkum, who's circulating around the room, and then she can pass those to me, and we can try to get those answered as well. So I do have some prepared questions, but if you have a very burning issue that you want to ask about, and pass those up, and if I see several questions from the same issue or there's a unique issue that I'm not planning to ask about, I might prioritize those. Any questions about that? Okay, well, other than that, let's go ahead and get started. And so we drew lots before, and the very first opening statement will fall to Kevin Denault in that race, so we'll allow him a chance to start this off, and then we'll hear from opening statements from all of them. So you each get 60 seconds for this, starting with Kevin.
Thank you, Kyle. Thank you all for being here tonight. My name is Kevin Denault. I'm running for Olathe City Council in Ward 4. I grew up in Salina, Kansas. I learned a lot from how a city works from my dad, who worked for the city. And I learned empathy from my mom, who's an oncology nurse. My family taught me how to be a good steward of our family, of our home, and our neighbors. After graduating, I moved to Olathe looking for opportunity. I made friends here, built a business, started a family, all here in Olathe. I found more than opportunity, I found community. But Olathe is changing and evolving. When I think about how my kids are going to graduate in the not too distant future, I think about my choice to leave my hometown. I don't want them to feel boxed in or blocked out. I want my kids to be able to choose Olathe just like I did. They deserve to have that choice, just like you deserve to have a choice at the ballot box. That's why I'm running for city council. Thank you.
Stay in the same race, Kevin, and pass the microphone over to Marge and allow Marge a chance to introduce herself. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It truly has been my honor and privilege to be able to serve Ward 4 as their representative on the City Council. And of course, I've also been the Mayor Pro Tem for all the citizens of Olathe. During my tenure, the City Council has made great strides in improving the quality in Olathe, the quality of life in Olathe for all citizens. This does not occur by happenstance. It takes listening to people, visioning, collaboration, and action. we continue to do great things. With the retirement of our city manager of 27 years, I believe that experience and continuity on the council will be essential to sustaining momentum on key initiatives and building on the progress already achieved. I believe in the endless potential for Olathe, and I do want to be a part of that next chapter, the next big idea. Thank you.
So that is the Ward 4 race, Kevin Denault and Marge Vogt. And so now we'll come down to this side of the table and allow the other two gentlemen to introduce themselves in the other race. So Jeff, if you want to begin here.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Creighton. I am running for the open seat for at-large on Olathe City Council. I have been a resident of Olathe since 1984. I fully retired at the end of last year after a 40-year career as business manager for the Harlan Parker Insurance Agency. I spend a lot of time volunteering with my church. I am on the board of trustees of a small Christian college in Manhattan. And at the city level, I served on a variety of boards and committees, including the Planning Commission, the Olathe Citizens Police Advisory Council, and the Olathe Police Foundation. And I feel like my work experience as well as my community involvement prepares me for serving in this role, and I thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight.
So staying in the at-large race, just heard from Jeff Creighton. Now let's hear from Rob Olson. Rob, if you want to introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Rob Olson. I want to thank you for having this tonight. I'm married to Rachel Olson. That's my wife. We've got 3 kids that they all attended Olathe South and graduated there. I got 2 grandkids that are now in Olathe schools. I spent 12 years on a bank board, Bank of the Prairie in Olathe, and as a part owner. And I spent 24 years on Water District Number 1's board. That was the first position I ever had, and was chair several times. And then I spent 6 years in the Kansas House. I was majority whip for 4 years, and then 14 years in the Kansas Senate and chaired about every committee in the Kansas Senate. You know, I love Olathe. It's a place I live. My family lives. All my kids live here. After college, they've come back. And I just want to get back to my city and where I believe we've got some shortfalls. I have plenty of experience for this job. Thank you.
And when you hear the timer, we don't cut you off, so feel free to finish your thought. And we don't, you know, there's no rules, there's no penalties for going slightly over. So let's jump back into the Ward 4 race. So these are your 2 choices here, at-large and Ward 4. And so since Kevin began with opening statements, we'll start with Marge on this first question. You'll all get the same one. And this is the only one you'll get 90 seconds to respond to. This allows you a chance maybe to expand on what you were going to say in your opening statement and some of the other things about your platform. I've been asking other cities this. So what do you see as the next big challenge in Olathe over the next 4 years? And if you are elected or re-elected in some cases, what would you do to address that challenge in the next 4 years? Marge.
Thank you. I think the biggest challenge for Olathe will be maintaining financial sustainability. We are a city that is 168 years old, and we are one of the fastest growing cities in Kansas. So that means we have to manage a budget that takes care of aging infrastructure and then continue to address the growth that is occurring in our community. And we want to try to do that by maintaining, you know, a revenue neutral mill levy or decreasing the mill levy. I will say that during the period I've been on the council, we actually decreased the mill levy twice, and the last time was in 2024 by 1 mill. Every effort needs to be made to make living in Olathe achievable so that it is, that we can maintain our quality of life without increasing the budget and passing it on to our home owners. The other item I would say that is probably the most important one, and I think you asked how I would do that. Well, it's about efficiencies, looking and seeing, about making greater efficiencies that hopefully will save some of the monies that normally would go into the budget. That's just one item.
In the Ward 4 race, before we come back to at-large, we'll hear from Kevin Denault. What do you see as the next big challenge for Olathe? How would you address it if elected?
Yeah, so I sent a survey to residents in Ward 4, and the top 3 priorities that we identified was that they want better roads and sidewalks, attainable housing, and support for local small businesses. With the rise of cost of goods, labor, and housing, it's only going to get harder to take meaningful action that advances those priorities. Our biggest challenge is going to be delivering that growth and evolution of Olathe that residents want as we face these increasing costs. We need to create new sources of revenue that are fiscally responsible today. We need to keep a watchful eye on the budget to ensure we're getting maximum value from every dollar. And we need to consider ways to help those struggling with property taxes. We need to work together and develop strong, collaborative, working relationship with the incoming city manager so that we can build a stronger, more resilient Olathe. Thank you.
Responses in Ward 4. Let's come back to at-large, and since Jeff went first on the opening statements, we'll give Rob the mic first on this question. What do you see as the next big challenge for Olathe? How would you address it if elected, Rob?
Sure, I think you've got several here. I think it starts out, I think property taxes people are struggling with. How do we fix it? We've seen evaluations go up considerably over the last several years, so the city's seeing a windfall right there, and I would look at reducing the mill. The second thing I think is very credible is affordable housing. We don't have a lot of affordable housing. There's some programs out there at the state and federal level that we should have already been using. The RHID probably should be building 100 of them a year. I think also our sales tax erosion is a big deal because a lot of our budget is sales tax driven, and we're building a lot of warehouses right now. And, you know, are we taking into account, I would love, I was looking at the IRB that passed the other day, the $330 million. Yeah, they exempted the sales tax and the property tax. Are we taking into account for if them were houses, all the money then people would be spending in our community in sales tax to balance out if it's more fair to have houses than more commercial warehouses? And I think the challenge is with commercial warehouses, you know, they bring these jobs, but they're always asking for these abatements. I was talking to someone tonight that, you know, she had a tenant that they got abatements, and then, you know, 10 years later, the next tenant got them. So never enough time.
The same race at large. Jeff Creighton, pass the mic to you. What do you see as the next big challenge for Olathe? How would you address it if elected?
Thank you. As I've been out talking to people, I'm hearing a variety of concerns of people, but the 3 main ones that keep coming up is fiscal responsibility and the importance of doing everything that we can to have a budget that stays as close to inflation and revenue neutral as possible, because we've got to continue to control the property taxes. And I think one of the ways that we can go about doing that is through economic development. Incentives is a concern to a lot of people, but I believe that if they are used correctly, that they offer some potential to increase our commercial base, because commercial base is taxed at a different rate, or excuse me, is assessed at a different rate, and so that brings in dollars and cents that does not have to come out of the pocket of the residential people. But we've got to control that. We just can't just willy-nilly give it out. So that's something that I would want to be very much a part of, the discussion of the proper priorities for that. A final thing is the infrastructure, our roadway network, and something that has not been raised yet is the issue of the road on the west side of town. If we're going to continue to make our roads safer to travel, more efficient, and then to make the downtown become more
Finish the
okay.
thought, yeah, please, yeah.
Oh.
You guys are such good students. When the time goes off, you just stop talking. I'm very unpolitician-like of you. But yeah, finish your thought, please.
But But I think that with the West Railroad tracks, we need to take a very serious look at the study that is going on right now and be prepared for how we can improve the downtown area economic development because of that. Thank you.
Just a reminder, if you have a question that you want to ask one of these people, or well, not one, just all of them, you can write this question down, hand it to Leah, get Leah's attention, pass it to her, she can pass it to me. I do have, it seems like we have a couple here. A little bit odd, but Jeff, you just went, but the order falls to you to start this one, so we'll start this next question with you. And for here on out, we'll give 60 seconds for questions. That 90 seconds was a little bit unusual, so we'll give 60-second responses for the rest of these. So a couple of you mentioned, if not all of you mentioned, or at least alluded to tax incentives. Seems like it's a big issue in Olathe, just as it is in other cities in Johnson County. So this person from the audience asks, what financial benefit does the city receive from TIF money granted to existing businesses? Do you see this as a good strategy for the city? What financial benefit does the city receive from giving out TIF? We'll start with Jeff Creighton first, 60 seconds.
So, well, there are actually several different types of incentives that are available. And as long as we are not abating taxes to the point that the properties are 100% abated for a long period of time, I think that uses, whether it's industrial revenue bonds, TIF, some of the community improvement district tax are very good options for that. And they do bring properties in line or online for that are taxes. Garmin is a great example. Several years ago, they got an abatement, but it was a partial abatement, and that property is still paying millions of dollars of taxes that were not being paid before. In a few years, we'll be getting almost $4 million a year more from that. So there is definitely a place for their use, but we do have to control them.
Large race, Rob Olson. Again, the question from the audience, what financial benefit does the city receive from giving out TIF, tax increment financing?
Well, I think the key is to make sure you do a white sheet and make sure in the long run, over a 10-year period, you're going to have more revenue coming in than you would have prior. You know, you can do some small TIFs that can clean up the parking lots and bring better tenants by, getting the place fixed up and brings more sales tax. But if we're doing TIFs, then TIFs on top of TIFs, that's not good. And, I have great concern with the project they just passed, the cold storage. They abated for 10 years, I believe, is like $11 million by your own figures. The county abated a bunch. The school districts got abated. They even abated 10 years of the wastewater. And so, I mean, I've got some challenges with some of them. I do believe they're part of the environment today, but we got to be really careful. And I'd use my banking background to crunch the numbers. I don't know that that's happening right now. Thank you.
Going to the Ward 4 race, Kevin Denault, what financial benefits does the city receive from TIF? That's the question from the audience.
So I think TIFs are a great tool the city can use. When I think about what residents are hoping to see in Olathe's growth, bringing in new businesses, attracting and retaining new businesses, how we want to expand our tax base. We've got some economic challenges right now that, I've spoken to various developers, builders. They run numbers and it's hard to decide to run a project right now. I think TIFs can encourage them, push it over the line and get them in and doing some projects that might otherwise not be viable. And in order to increase that tax base, getting them in earlier so that we can start seeing the benefit of those taxes sooner is going to benefit the city.
And if you came in late, feel free to come over to this side. If no pressure, but you can certainly come over here if you want to. There's plenty of seats over here. Okay, Marge Vogt, the same question to you. What do you see as the benefit to TIF?
All right. Well, I didn't get a chance to talk about economic development as being one of the most critical for growth and sustainability of a city. It is a very competitive market out there, and TIFs and tax incentives are a part of the process of bringing in good economic development. It does add to the quality of life by decreasing tax burdens on the homeowners, but it needs to be targeted development, development that brings in quality businesses, quality jobs. And initially, you may not see the numbers in terms of the large numbers of taxes, but after 10 years, you will see that. We do an analysis that makes sure that we have a cost-benefit ratio that's positive for the city. However, that is quantitative, and sometimes there are some indirect advantages to the city that also need to be considered when offering TIFs.
Another maybe development-related question since we're on TIF. Some of you mentioned housing previously, so this will start with Rob Olson first in the at-large race. We often hear from readers who are skeptical or downright opposed to the building of more apartments, especially if they are near single-family neighborhoods. Do you think Olathe currently has too many apartments or just the right amount? You can characterize that how you want. What would be your approach towards assessing future proposed apartment developments for approval? So does Olathe currently have too many apartments? What would be your approach towards assessing those proposed projects as they come before you on the council? Start with Rob Olson.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a tough one. I think it's market-driven. I mean, that's capitalism at its best. But, you know, I think right now the prices of the rents are through the roof, and there's not enough affordable apartments. The apartments that we had 10 years ago, they're all double and even more than that. People are paying the inflated values, and there's really no place for affordable. So I think we've got challenges. I think we've got some abilities to use some of these tools like private activity bonds, RHID, where we can build some new housing that's more affordable to meet that need, because if we don't build more affordable, then people are going to live south. I mean, we've got half of our city employees right now can't afford to live in the city because there's not enough affordable housing. And so I don't know that apartments, building more of them are the right thing, but we need to look at some of these other tools and see if we can't build more houses that are affordable.
Jeff Creighton, does Olathe currently have too many apartments? What would be your approach towards approving or assessing future apartment proposals if they come before the council?
Well, first of all, I would agree that it is definitely market-driven. The developer knows what they want to do, and there's a lot of people that just really do want to live in apartments. That fits their lifestyle at that particular time, so I don't ever want to tell somebody they can't have something. That being said, we have to take a very strategic approach to where they are at, and I've been on the Planning Commission for a number of years, and we have had projects for apartments that have come up, and in some cases I have been able to be supportive of them because I feel that their quality works, but then there have been those that I have been one of the lead who have been in opposition to and voted to recommend denial whenever there were apartments that were close to single-family housing that did not match the character of the neighborhood.
Going to the at-large race, we heard from Kevin first, so let's give the mic to Marge. First on this question, again, do you think there are currently too many apartments in Olathe? What would be your approach to assessing future projects on the council?
Again, I'm going to agree with my fellow forum attendees in that it is market-driven. But with that said, we do need to recognize there needs to be a diversity of housing. Probably everyone in this room has lived in an apartment at some time before they moved into a single-family house. We need to make sure that the location is appropriate. We do need to look a little bit more at affordability. I think some of the apartments that we have put in are a little bit expensive. I know just by talking with individuals going door to door. So we need to look at that and look at some of the tools that are available. Again, not everyone wants a home. We need to have diversity of housing. It's about where you put it, and again, about affordability. And I will say that the Senate just passed a bill that would provide some incentives for housing affordability. It needs to go to the House for approval, but as we know, we're shut down. So that may be an avenue to help us, not just with single family, but with multifamily.
Staying in Ward 4, and finally to Kevin Denault, what do you see as the issue on apartments? Do you think there are currently too many or just the right amount? What would be your approach towards assessing future apartment projects developments?
So I do think housing is an issue for quite a few people in different stages of life. When I first moved here, my first apartment was a single bedroom, nice apartment, not a luxury apartment, and not one of the cheapest either. It was $537. Inflation would have that at $943, but it's actually, I looked it up yesterday, it's $1,170. The demand is driving the price more than people can afford. I want Olathe to be a place of opportunity for people in all stages of life. There just aren't enough starter homes, condos, and apartments. Retirees won't be able to downsize if their monthly expenses are more than they're paying now. So housing should align with the needs of everyone from young adults to retirees, including teachers, firefighters, and police. I want to listen to concerns about obvious zoning, permits, and ordinance limitations that might be preventing otherwise worthwhile projects from getting done. And I want to be mindful that new housing complements our community's wide-ranging desires.
The order falls to Kevin, so you just answered, but we'll start the next question with you before moving to Mars. So this comes from the audience. This person writes, with the I-35 Santa Fe interchange upcoming, this is going to be a major project in the future of Olathe, and if you're on the council, you'll oversee its implementation and construction. This person says, with that interchange upcoming, we have a unique opportunity. What is your number one priority as it pertains to this project? And so we'll start with Kevin, 60 seconds.
Santa Fe and I-35.
Yeah, the I-35.
So, Santa Fe and I-35, I wish we could have done it sooner. It is one of the older interchanges. It's ripe for an economic win. There's a lot of great land there that is going to get redeveloped. I'm looking forward to seeing it redeveloped in such a way that we can be proud that when visitors drive through it looks great. It's our front door to the rest of the world. It's how people are going to get here, get to shopping, get to downtown Olathe. I'm looking forward to seeing what diverse businesses we can get in there and support our car dealerships. I know when it comes to car dealerships, they provide some of the highest amount of sales tax revenue that goes to our tax base. So I'm very much looking forward, and we couldn't get it done soon enough.
So what would you say in a phrase or a word, what would be your top priority for this project? What do you want to make sure that it...
Ensuring traffic flow during construction is handled very well.
Marge, the same question to you. What's your number one priority as it pertains to the upcoming I-35 Santa Fe project?
I'm proud to say that 2 years ago, as we were examining the capital improvement plan, this project was not at the top as number one, and I always felt it was number one. Staff felt that it was so expensive that we would not be able to afford it. Well, we made it number one, and guess what? The majority of that project is being funded either by the state or by the federal government. And the goal is not just to move the traffic, but also to help our existing businesses and to attract new businesses. They will have a phenomenal front door that hopefully will bring people to that area. Right now, people avoid going to the businesses there because of the congestion. So I really feel this project, though it's going to take about a good 4 years, it's going to make a significant difference for Olathe. Thank you.
That word or phrase, what's that number one priority for this project for you? What do you want to make sure you get out of it?
The number one priority is to keep traffic moving and to give a good front door to existing businesses and businesses that will be coming to the area.
Thank you. Back to the at-large race. Jeff Creighton, the question to you. What's your number one priority as it pertains to the I-35 Santa Fe interchange?
Obviously, I agree with the comments that were made about the importance of safety and travel times, the efficiency, because priority always has to be the safety of our citizens, and that is a very high accident area. But I would say that maybe the biggest priority beyond that is the potential of improving opportunities for small business. Those parcels that are being taken down in the near future are generally smaller parcels. We may have an opportunity to help our small business people have greater exposure that they maybe do not have currently in some locations. So as the city goes through a plan right now related to the improvements along Santa Fe, I think that has to be one of the priorities within that study, and that is how we can potentially use some incentives for small businesses to help grow those locations,
Sounds like traffic safety, but also economic development for small businesses in that area.
especially on small business because of the fact that these are smaller potentially smaller parcels. So that may help some of our businesses that are not big box.
Rob Olson, you're the last one to answer this one. So what's your number one priority for the I-35 Santa Fe interchange?
I think by starting, it's going to be painful for the long period, but once it's done, it's going to be wonderful. It'll probably be a really sales tax generator, not just for 135th, but along the frontage of it. We'll be able to move traffic much better. But it's going to be very challenging as we have to go. You're going to see a lot more people on the side streets getting around for 4 years. It's going to be very challenging. I hope the city will work with the businesses to work through it so we don't put them out of business, these challenges. I think it will be nice when it's done, and that whole thing will be redeveloped, and so will the frontage streets. And I think it could turn into a real economic boom, but it's going to be very challenging to do it all at once like we're doing, and very painful. So
Managing, the priority for you is managing that project, making sure it doesn't cause too much short-term pain before the payoff does come.
well, I think we want to manage it, and we don't want to drive people away from our city because a lot of people drive through it. And so try to make it easier for them to get to the businesses that we can and work with the businesses.
Let's go to the next question. The order falls to Marge in the Ward 4 race. This also comes from the audience. A question about how you approach traffic and street flow. This person asks, roundabouts, stop signs, or traffic signals, which do you prefer? And I might ask why. So we'll start with Marge vote in Ward 4. Roundabouts, stop signs, or traffic signals, which do you prefer and why?
That is a tough question. I'm going to say that I am not an expert in traffic. And so that is why we have professional staff to help sort out what is the best way in which to move traffic, to stop traffic, to have safety among, traffic. Yes, I personally tend to like roundabouts because you can keep moving, but you have to be comfortable with that. Many people aren't, I get it. So with anything, we're gonna have all of it, but it is gonna be based on location and need. And I do rely very heavily on our professional staff because they are traffic engineers. I am not. Thank you.
Staying in Ward 4, Kevin Denault, roundabouts, stop signs, or traffic signals, which do you prefer and why?
So I think that I lean toward roundabouts sometimes, but there's a time and a place for them. I agree they allow you to keep moving. I think it's going to depend a bit on the intersection, the size of it, how much traffic is flowing through it. I know in some European cities they have some pretty darn big roundabouts. They seem to work. They seem kind of crazy, but they do seem to work. I think here there's a little bit of a misnomer that they don't work when they actually do. The studies show that they're safer and they keep traffic flowing. But I do want to be willing to accept the human element, that not everybody always feels comfortable in a roundabout, and some intersections are just bigger and more, I guess, adept to it being a light. So I would say I'm for roundabouts. I think we could probably find some places where they'd be good to use, but not everywhere. So we just need to be measured.
Coming to the at-large race, the order falls to Rob Olson to start this one in this race. Again, roundabouts, stop signs, or traffic signals, which do you prefer and why?
Well, I mean, stop signs course, and stop lights, but, on these smaller intersections, roundabouts probably the most efficient. What a lot of people don't realize, there's a lot of cost to a stoplight, just the power it has to and run that light. And we're talking $80,000 to $100,000 a year on top of the technology and the lights and everything that go into that. But the roundabouts, I think everybody's, maybe we ought to send everybody back to driving class and see who knows how to yield. But I mean, they do pretty well. I mean, I don't have a problem with them, but there's always that question, who's yielding and who's not. And it seems like there's not a lot of accidents there, so I support them all in a mix.
And staying in the at-large race, Jeff Creighton, again, the question from the audience, roundabouts, stop signs, traffic signals, which do you prefer and why?
I like the roundabouts whenever, in certain cases, and I think an excellent example in Olathe where roundabouts have done a great service for us is at Sheridan and Ridgeview. That used to have four-way stop, and people coming from the south, whether it's from Olathe South or from Garmin, that would back up. And so the roundabout there made a great deal of sense. It limited the amount of backup. It also allowed traffic to move quickly with less potential for accidents. There are some places it's not going to work. And one thing I don't want to bang on one of our neighbors, but we don't want to be like Lenexa on Renner Boulevard, where there's three of them right there together. There are times that signals are an absolute necessity, and I think in my neighborhood, I'm very close to 129th and Merlin. There's a potential of a traffic signal coming there after some development, and I think that is necessary in that situation, even though they are expensive.
Well, let's move to the next issue, and Jeff, you might keep the microphone there because the order will fall to you, even though you just answered. So we do frequently hear from readers urging cities to consider tax rate cuts or other relief to counteract the impacts of rising valuations in Johnson County. Of course, it is the job of each city's governing body to set the annual mill levy or property tax rate. And for 2026, the Olathe City Council recently did approve a budget that includes a flat mill levy rate of roughly 23 mills, slightly over 23 mills. Still, during that vote, some council members acknowledged rising bills that residents are facing and suggested more could be done to find relief. So give me a sense. Do you think that the tax rate should be cut even more? Are there other ways to find relief for Olathe homeowners? So a two-part question there. Would you cut the rate more if elected in future years? And is there any other way to find relief for residents? So we'll start with Jeff Creighton first.
Thank you. I alluded to it earlier, and I go back to the importance of economic development, because if we are improving the opportunity for businesses to come to Olathe and pay taxes, that allows us to, in the long run, reduce but in the short term, we have to be diligent with our spending, revenue neutral, keeping things as close to inflation as possible is an absolute necessity, and if possible, I would love to be able to vote for a mill levy reduction. But if we're doing the economic development, one of the keys is also that it's not just about real estate taxes, it's improving the sales tax base. And so it's a combination of things, of spending cuts if necessary, and to improve the economic development plans of the city.
Moving the microphone over to Rob Olson. Again, do you think Olathe's current tax rate is appropriate? Would you cut it even more in coming years, and also other areas for relief for residents? We'll also note that Olathe does have a tax rebate program, I think eligible for some homeowners, so maybe the idea could be to expand that, but it will let you speak. Do you think you would cut it more or offer more relief somewhere else?
Yeah, I would drop the mill. Mill should never go up more than the rate of inflation. The valuation shouldn't. And I'll tell you, the challenge I have is we're in a declining sales tax environment, and it's just going to get worse with, you see all the businesses leaving on Santa Fe and et cetera. And so if we don't get back focused on Main Street and use our incentives on Main Street to rebuild the sales tax, because it's the largest portion of the revenue over the property, we're going to have challenges. I was here in the 90s. I was on Water One, and I know how to grow. And by growing, we need to build more houses. One of the challenges we have, why they can build apartments cheaper in Spring Hill than they can here, it's the codes. we're on a 2019 code here, and they're in a 2006 code. And so they can build things cheaper down there, rents are cheaper. But, you know, as you add bodies, you add sales tax revenues to a community. And so we need to look at some of our incentives, rebuilding our Main Street, our strip centers and that, building up our sales tax. We don't have a place to come to anymore like other cities do.
Supportive of cutting it more? Are there other areas for relief, or, I mean, I mentioned the rebate program, but other opportunities for at least certain groups to get some sort of property tax relief from the city?
Yes, I would drop the mill no higher than the rate of inflation to anybody. If their evaluations go up 8% on the average, I would not, you know, raise it any more than what was the inflation, 1.9% this year. That's what I'd, you know, there's no way I could deem that it'd be a rate increase over that. People are on fixed incomes. They're barely getting by. There's more foreclosures right now, 101,000 foreclosures across this country. So we're struggling.
Ward 4, Kevin Denault, again, the idea of property tax rates, how would you approach it as city council member? So the question is, would you cut it more? It was held flat for the next year. Would you look at steeper cuts and also other areas for a relief for some homeowners, certain groups of homeowners? That two-part question there.
What I'm hearing from voters in the survey that I sent, people are happy with the value they receive for their tax dollars. The fact that Olathe delivers good quality means we're doing something right, and I don't want to jeopardize that. I do want to get ahead of this issue, though. We need to grow Olathe's tax base through smart commercial investment and stronger sales tax revenue to set ourselves up and ease that pressure on homeowners and property taxes. Now, some residents have said they're struggling to stay where they live. They're on a fixed income, they're close to being priced out of their homes, and even downsizing is going to cost more. So I want to look at expanding the property tax relief program Olathe has. I also would be interested in looking at how can we help those on qualifying residents on fixed income, try and help them out a little bit as well. Because if the trends continue, you know, the pressure goes up, you know, my choice is going to be we get ahead now to protect the services we value.
And you might have answered it, and I might have missed it, and I apologize if I did, but just a question about whether you would support steeper rate cuts in the future. Where would you stand on that?
I would for now hold it and consider for the next budget.
Marge, vote in the same race. Would you look at or vote for steeper rate cuts in the future if need be, in other areas, and look to find other areas of relief or modes of relief for homeowners when it comes to property taxes?
First of all, I do believe that, and our direction finders does show that the citizen does feel that they're getting good value for their tax dollar. As I said before, we have, as a council member, I've decreased the mill levy twice, but we've done it when we know we were able to continue to provide the exceptional services that our citizens have come to appreciate and expect. And those, the highest being, category being safety. So I would not want to see us cut the mill levy to say that we did and then decrease those services. I think it is about the growth of economic development that is going to help us in providing the tax dollars needed to continue providing those services and then decreasing the burden on the homeowner.
Support or do support that would really offer relief for maybe more particular groups of homeowners, or just a little bit of relief that the city can offer, knowing that the city's impact on tax bills is relatively limited.
As you know, as you mentioned, I on the council, along with my fellow council members, developed two programs. One for those in need with a certain income level, rebating $750, and then for all our veterans, $250. Yes, I would be open to providing a rebate for selected group on fixed incomes.
Falls to Rob to start this next question. So let's talk a little bit about infrastructure. So 2 years ago, Olathe voters opted overwhelmingly to renew the city's 1/8 cent sales tax that goes towards park improvements. There's also a 3/8 cent sales tax on the books that funds street maintenance. So those are part of the ways in which the city funds infrastructure improvements. There's also the 5-year CIP. What do you see as the biggest infrastructure challenge facing Olathe over the next 4 years? maybe other than the I-35 Santa Fe interchange. We've already talked about that, but you could mention that as well. But what do you see as the biggest infrastructure challenge facing Olathe over the next 4 years? How would you go about addressing it?
Thank you. I think the infrastructure at 7 and Long Elm is something that the state's proposing as a big one. But I feel like our parks ought to be the best. We've got a lot of parks, and we got some great parks, but I would like to see even more basketball courts and just a little more money spent and from the sales tax on them parks to improve them, to make them some of the best. I think we could have more people come into our community to our parks. I think also, 3/8 cents on roads. I think in the neighborhoods and that, it's doing really good. I was driving down a commercial area that needs resurface, and it hasn't been done yet. So I think there's a lot of work to be done on the roads. I think it's working. I think we stay on the same plan we're on to redo the roads and the curbs. But I think, it sounds like there's a future project off along, I believe it's Long Elm, I might be saying the wrong street, and 7, and I think that's probably the next big one to be similar to I-35 or crossover bridge.
But it is Lone Elm, I believe, at K-10.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, K-10.
That involves Lenexa as well. Jeff Creighton, the biggest infrastructure challenge you see facing Olathe over the next 4 years, how would you work to address it?
I think what I would acknowledge is that the southern part of our city has fallen behind. We're seeing a lot of economic development, job creation along 175th Street from 169 to I-35, and we're not keeping up on 159th Street, 167th, or 175th. There is a study underway right now about the intersection of 175th and 169 Highway, but that's going to take some time. That's KDOT. If we're going to continue to have economic development and growth in that area and to protect the residents who live there and travel those roads, we have got to make that area a priority for our infrastructure improvement. So that would be very first. And earlier I mentioned the West Railroad tracks. That's going to be a long-term project, so it's not in the time frame you mentioned, but we've got to keep our vision on that as well.
In the Ward 4 race, the order falls to Marge vote first. What do you see as the biggest infrastructure challenge coming down the pike for Olathe over the next 4 years? How would you address it?
One.
Oh,
I'm going to pick a bunch. There are a bunch.
Yeah.
175th Street, southern part of Olathe, with all the industry going in there and manufacturing, we do need to improve those roads. They need to be widened as well as resurfaced. K-10 and Lone Elm, we all know that is a very controversial interchange that's being proposed, and I, as well as my fellow council members, have requested that it be an overpass. I don't know when in the future, if and when that will take place. Raising the rails, that is a long-term project, and as you know, there's a study going on right now, and we received funding for that, and that's looking at 9 at-grade crossings, and then way down the road, we're looking at K-7 and development along K-7, which is going to require additional infrastructure for water, sewer, et cetera, in order for growth to take place.
And finishing this question in the Ward 4 race, Kevin Denault, what do you see as the biggest infrastructure challenge facing Olathe in the next 4 years? How would you address it?
I mean, I think we all agree the Santa Fe I-35 is the top one, but I'm going to say getting our railroad, especially near downtown, is probably my second one. The reason is,
The at-grade crossings, trying to, as Marge said, raising the rails so that motorists can pass by without having to stop when a train comes by.
our east-west traffic is definitely falling behind. The at-grade crossings represent a lot of traffic congestion, especially near downtown, and we're investing millions in downtown. We want that to be an outstanding success. So I want to say it is the at-grade crossings, and I think that couldn't come soon enough. I mean, give me a shovel, I'll go help. You know what I mean? So that's going to be my second one. I want to make sure that funding is appropriate and measured, but quick enough, because costs are rising every year. The longer we wait, the more expensive these projects are going to get.
Just have a couple more questions from the audience before closing out here, so the order falls to Kevin to start this question. This also comes from the audience. I think it was actually the same person who asked about roundabouts and stop signs. They did ask a particular question about using AI in traffic management, but I want to broaden the scope of that question just to ask how you think City Hall and city government in general should be using AI going forward. You could address the specific issue about traffic management like this person asks, but if you wanted to broaden the scope to think about how AI should be used in city government, we'll start with Kevin Denault.
I was sitting with a friend at Backyard Burger when they were back here, and we met the gentleman in Olathe who did traffic, was the manager for the traffic department, and we've had a lot of great conversations with him. AI, though, I want to talk real quick about that. I think the systems that they're using are really great, but I use AI a lot in my job doing various software development and other technical tasks. It is going to be a great tool, and it's still a great tool today, but it's not mature enough to trust fully with our traffic flow management. Right now, I use it extensively, but I only use it for advancing my own thoughts or suggestions and being able to produce results quicker. But everything has to be verified. So I love the idea. I think as it matures, I think we'll be able to see stable, reliable results from AI in traffic management. But until then, be careful.
Move the mic to Marge, and we'll ask her the same question. So what do you think should be the city government's use of AI? How should City Hall approach this dawning but very powerful technology?
As it relates to traffic management, is that what you're asking? Yeah.
Question, but you can address that particular issue, but also just think about how AI should be in use in city government more generally.
Well, as Kevin mentioned, AI is being utilized in all different professions in the medical, and we do use some automated information for management of traffic. But I do think that it's going to take time in terms of refining it, but by doing that, we'll be able to refine our processes and hopefully unfortunately, we won't maybe have as many personnel, which will decrease the budget. But I do believe there is a place for AI, no doubt about it. I hope that that will be available for us in terms of managing planning as well as our budget. So there is no doubt a definite way to utilize it within city government, but it will evolve over time as the technology evolves. Thank you.
At-large race, Jeff, you go first. What role do you think AI should play in city governance? How should City Hall deploy AI? Again, the specific question about traffic management, but you can think about it more broadly than that too.
I think it's very important and gives us an opportunity to improve efficiencies. So in general, I'm not concerned about what the potential is for managing traffic flow as an example. That being said, I want us to never forget that as important as technology is, as important as AI is for some issues, the bottom line, this is still your city local government, and you have it's important that you always know that there are people behind everything that's going on so that you have someone to talk to. So I don't want us to ever get to that point where AI becomes the only thing that we go to.
Rob Olson, the role of AI in city governance, how would you want the city to deploy it?
Well, I think we got to be cautious, but at the same time, it's the new tool. I think, this is actually something I wanted to talk about. I live down at 159th and Ridgeview, so Ridgeview shutting down going south. Actually, going north, it was shut down earlier this year. Renner's shut down. We were blacktopping 169, so if you're going south, it was tough. And then a few weeks ago, we did our railroad crossing there, so you couldn't even go that way. And at the same time, they were redoing the railroad crossing. They had two of the streets going north getting resurfaced. So, they almost made it impossible for people to get around. I think there's places for these tools to say, hey, maybe we need to have a better schedule on how to do some of these to where we're not, because we get a lot of traffic down there cutting across and stuff, and all of a sudden you lose 2 or 3 roads, and it gets real busy in our neighborhoods and our streets down there. So I think this is a tool, but that's all it is a tool. It shouldn't be our only tool, but we can use it and help us be more successful in managing our traffic.
The order follows the March vote. To begin this next question, we did get a question from the audience that noted that in the annual citizen surveys that some of you have cited in previous answers, input and communication with Olathe residents was one of the more lower positively rated among a dozen or so categories. I will say the staff kind of looked up that survey to kind of see. It was one of the lower ones. Overall effectiveness of communication with the public was, I think, got 79% approval rating or positivity rating. I will also say sense of community was at 65%, promoting diversity was 58%. So let me ask the question this way. This particular questioner brought up concerns about communication with Olathe residents, as suggesting maybe it needs to be improved. But out of those 3 things, effectiveness of communication, sense of community, promoting diversity, all receiving relatively low scores, which one of those concerns you the most?
Repeat the
Yeah.
3 again.
Yeah.
Sense of
Overall
community.
effectiveness of communication with residents, so that's kind of like City Hall
Yeah.
speaking to residents, a sense of community, and then promoting diversity. Which one of those concerns you the most?
That's a tough question. They're all very important. I think probably effective communication. And the reason I say that is because I think if we have good communication, we can then tackle these other issues, providing information about our activities to engage people so that they do feel a sense of community, and moreover, engaging all within our community to ensure that we are bringing diversification in our activities. So I'm thinking if you look at communication, I think you can solve some of these other issues. How to improve communication? I think we need to go out to the people. I think with COVID and all Zooming there and social media, I think that there is a firewall there. And I think we need to spend more time going out to the people. Thank you.
Ward 4 race, Kevin Denault. Again, the 3 lower rated categories that had positivity ratings: effective communication with residents, sense of community, promoting diversity. Which one of those concerns you the most?
So communication, I'll agree, could be improved. I've seen by trying to go to the website and sign up for newsletters and get specific information, it took me a little while to figure out how to do it. But I think that I know things we can do to fix that. That's more of a technical problem. So my bigger concern, I think, is something I'm more passionate about, which is building that better sense of community. One of the biggest reasons why I'm running is because when you get out of your house, you go to the parks, you get on the trails, you meet people, and you get to know them. You develop empathy for them, and you begin to understand if they don't agree with you, you begin to understand their side of things. I think as a whole in this city, if we can get out and get to know our neighbors more and build a stronger community, we're going to be able to overcome some of our differences better. And that's going to make our city that much better, so much better. So that to me is probably my top concern.
We'll come back to this race, and we'll also just note the effective communication score not only was one of the lower ones of the categories offered, but also went down 10% from 23 to 24. So it was also falling a little bit from previous years. So Rob Olson, again, effective communication with residents, sense of community, promoting diversity. Which one concerns you the most?
I think they're all 3 important in every aspect. I think there's many more things important. I think you got to be careful with surveys. They're that minute, the people that answer them. I've seen, I know it's Elaine Tatham's group. We used them at Water One for many years. But, it's really what's going on in people's life and who you really get them to respond. So I think communication's really key in a lot of ways. On the campaign trail, out seeing people, I'll be honest with you, the number one thing I've heard repeatedly is our homeless situation that's going on. I've seen a few of them in the last few days. And, last night I was driving home, and right up by the car wash on Ridgeview and 119th. Seen a guy laying on the sidewalk. He had his cart there and a pile of stuff. And I was just thinking, wow, this is Olathe. And I really hadn't thought about that until I started this campaign. Never heard about it before. And I seen a situation in the park similar. So I've heard a lot of people talk about that.
But if I had to make you pick one, communication, diversity, community.
I think communication, because if you're not communicating with your constituents, then you really don't know all the others. But I think they're all three equally important. But I think you've got to communicate. I think opening up ways to communicate. You know, in the old days, when the son was here, they had a thing called Talkback, and you could call in, and you know they'd put that in the paper. Yeah, I'm just saying, but they, you know, to have something like that at the city where people can call in anonymous, say a few things, I think that would be important, because the anonymous part will get a lot more people if they feel that way.
Jeff Creighton, again, the categories, you finally want to answer this: effective communication, sense of community, promoting diversity. Which one bothers you or concerns you the most?
I think we need to do a better job improving communication, not necessarily trying to do a plug, but we've lost our hometown newspaper, and that made a big difference in the city of Olathe from when I moved here many years ago. And with technology, there are a lot of people feel very comfortable finding out about the community, but some residents don't, and so we must do a better job with that. Somebody made the comment up here that with improved communication, it helps build a sense of community. And I absolutely agree that diversity is something that's on a lot of people's mind these days. I happen to be very fortunate to live in a neighborhood that is highly diverse based on racial, ethnic backgrounds, continents that people come from. And so I don't see that problem as much because it is a very diverse neighborhood. But picking the number one is definitely improving communication to build a sense of community.
Well, let's move to the final question. This will kind of serve as a closing statement as well. We're coming up on an hour, so I'm mindful of that. Marge said before, keep it at an hour, and so I'm very mindful of that. So we're going to start with Jeff Creighton. We're going to go down the line. This actually comes from the audience, so I think it's actually a good way to kind of frame a closing statement or a last word from all of you. So this person from the audience asked, and they'd say, without using platitudes, differentiate yourself from your opponent. So I would say differentiate yourself from your opponent while also maybe giving that final statement of why voters should vote for you. So the difference in you and your opponent and why voters should vote for you. 60 seconds, Jeff Creighton.
Okay, well, one thing that we both agree on, 60 seconds is hard to to keep it in line, but I think the one thing that I go back to is what I said in my opening statement. I've been here a long time. I have a sense of community, a commitment to the city of Olathe. I've never been in elective office. I've never run for office. And so this is a new opportunity as I'm talking to people. It's been great to hear what their beliefs are in terms of needs. But I believe that with my business background, my community service outside the city, and then within the city, Planning Commission, Police Foundation, and Police Council, that I have the skill set that will let me hit the ground running on day one if you honor me with your vote, and I am successful. Thank you.
So this is staying in the at-large race. Rob Olson, again, differentiate yourself from your opponent and why voters should vote for you.
I just want to start by saying I think I've got a great opponent. I think he's a really good guy, a very nice guy, and so you know, it's hard to say difference, but I do think I come with a unique skill set of serving on a lot of boards. I've done a lot of things, you know, from banking to, you know, Water One, where we had a AAA bond rating, one of few in the country, you know, to my state experience up in the state legislature of writing a lot of the housing bills and a lot of the legislation, so I know how they work. And so I think I'm a little unique in that. I think also I have plenty of experience to hit the ground running with this job. I've served in a lot of different capacities and boards you probably wouldn't know about. And so I think I'm very skilled for this job, probably in different ways than Jeff, because I've been in elected office for a lot of years. And, but I think my opponent's a good guy, so I'm going to say that.
I'm asking you to attack each other. That's what I'm doing. I'm just joking. Kevin Denault in Ward 4. So again, differentiating yourself from your opponent as well as making a case for why voters should vote for you.
You know, I met Marge a few weeks back at our first panel, and she's been incredibly kind, a delight to talk to. I appreciate everything that she's contributed on City Council over the last 20, I don't know how many years, 27 years, yeah, in making Olathe what it is today. What distinguishes me from her, first and foremost, is I'm a fresh choice for voters. She and I both clearly love Olathe, but where we differ is in how I'll bring fresh perspectives to the City Council. Olathe's future years will be different than its past years. I look forward to enjoying what Olathe has to offer, like improving our walking and biking, you know, to be able to go to restaurants and locally owned shops. I'm excited to meet more neighbors. I'm excited to build more connected community, and I'm excited to hear what you want Olathe to become. And I want to blend that with preserving what has made Olathe so great today.
And staying in the Ward 4 race, final word, Marge Vote. What differentiates you from your opponent as well as why voters should vote for you?
Again, thanks, Kevin. I think both of us have something very important to offer to our community. I think I'm a little bit different than most people that run for office as a nurse practitioner. You don't see people from the healthcare field usually going into politics. And so I think I bring a health-centered perspective to city governance. And that addresses housing, transportation, and public safety, and how it directly impacts residents' well-being. And this helps to guide policies and strengthen Olathe's quality of life. I think as a nurse practitioner, I listen. I try to build relationships, foster collaboration with my patients, and they know that I care, as I care about the citizens of Olathe. I want to ensure that Olathe remains a safe and vibrant and thriving community that I've called home for over 30 years. And I think steady leadership, thoughtful decision-making, and community-first approach are some of the aspects that I can contribute. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Give them a round of applause for participating tonight and sharing their views. And give us a round of applause because we're done with our candidate forums. This is 12 nights. We're over, yeah. So thank you so much. Olathe, it was good to have our first municipal forum in Olathe. I hope to do many, many more and maybe add some talkback features in the coming years. So thank you so much to the candidates tonight, those of you who showed up, those of you watching online. Again, early in-person voting begins October 25th, just about a week and a half away, and then Election Day is November 4th. You can find all election information at jocoelection.org. Thank you so much for watching this forum and our others, and have a good night.